The UES Teguk drifted through space like a sleeping giant. Captain Minho Park stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main screen. His ship was massive, over 2 kilometers long, with thick armor and weapons that could destroy planets. But right now it was just doing a normal patrol along the edge of human space. "Captain, we're ready for the next jump," said Dae-Hyun Lee from his position at the navigation controls. The young officer had been working with the ship's computers all morning, planning their route back to Earth. Minho nodded. "Take us home, Dae-Hyun. I'm sure everyone wants to see their families again." The crew had been out here for 3 months, checking on the outer colonies and making sure no pirates were causing trouble. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. The Teguk was one of humanity's newest battleships, built to protect human worlds from any threats. Down in the engine room, Ji-won Kim was checking the hyperspace drive. She was the ship's chief engineer, and she knew every bolt and wire on the Teguk. The hyperspace drive was the most important part of the ship. It let them travel faster than light by jumping through another dimension. "Everything looks good. Down here," Ji-won said into her radio. "The drive is running perfectly." On the bridge, Dae-Hyun started the jump sequence. Numbers and lights flashed on his screen as the ship's computers calculated the best path through hyperspace. The route looked normal. They would jump 3 times and arrive at Earth in 6 hours. "Jump in 10 seconds, Dae-Hyun announced. The crew felt the familiar feeling as the ship entered hyperspace. The stars outside disappeared, replaced by the strange colors and lights of the other dimension. The Teguk flew through this weird space at incredible speed. But something went wrong. In the engine room, Ji-won heard a loud noise. Sparks flew from one of the control panels. Red warning lights started flashing everywhere. The hyperspace drive was shaking like it wanted to tear itself. "Apart, Captain," Ji-won shouted into her radio. "Something's wrong with the drive. The jump calculations are all messed up." On the bridge, Dae-Hyun stared at his screen in horror. The navigation computer was showing impossible readings. According to the data, they were jumping much farther than planned, and they were going in the wrong direction. "I can't control it," Dae-Hyun said, his fingers flying over the controls. "The ship is jumping on its own." Minho grabbed his chair as the Teguk shook violently. Through the main screen, he could see the colors of hyperspace spinning wildly. It looked like they were falling through a tunnel of light. "Ji-won, can you shut down the drive?" Minho asked. "I'm trying," came the reply from the engine room. "But something is pulling us forward. It's like we're caught in a current." The ship jumped again, then again. Each time they went farther from home. The hyperspace around them was different now. It looked darker, more dangerous. Strange shapes moved in the distance like giant sea creatures swimming through an ocean of stars. Yuna. Oh, the ship's computer specialist was working frantically at her station. "Captain, our location is unknown. The star maps don't match anything in our database. We're completely lost." After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, the shaking stopped. The Teguk fell out of hyperspace and back into normal space. The crew looked at the main screen and saw stars they had never seen before. "Where are we?" Minho asked quietly. Dae-Hyun checked his instruments. His face went pale. "Captain, according to these readings, we're thousands of light years from human space. We're in a completely unknown part of the galaxy." Sun-Woo Kang, the ship's weapons officer, was studying his own screens. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy. Signatures all around us. There are ships out there, lots of them." "Friendly ships?" Minho asked hopefully. "I don't think so, sir. The energy patterns don't match any human technology. And Captain..." Sun-Woo paused. "Some of these ships are huge, much bigger than anything we've ever built." Hyerim Cho, the tactical officer, was working with the ship's sensors. "I'm detecting at least 50 large vessels within scanner range. They're arranged in patrol formations. This looks like a heavily defended area." Minho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. They had jumped into someone else's territory, and judging by the number of ships around them, it was someone very powerful. "Are we hidden?" he asked. "No, sir," Hyerim replied. "Our arrival created a big energy burst. Anyone with sensors will have detected us." As if to prove her point, the ship's communication system started beeping. Someone was trying to contact them. Seo-Jin Nam, the ship's language expert, put on her headphones and listened to the incoming signal. "Captain, it's a message in an unknown language, but the computer is starting to translate it. It sounds like a demand for identification." Far away on a planet called Valthros, Admiral Kira Velthane was having a normal day. She was reviewing reports from the border patrols when her aide rushed into her office. "Admiral, we have a situation. An unknown ship has appeared in Sector 7. It doesn't match any known alien technology." Kira stood up quickly. Sector 7 was deep inside Velkan Imperial space. No alien ship should be able to reach that area. The Empire had conquered over 3,000 species in the last 1,000 years. They knew every type of ship and weapon in the galaxy. "Show me the data," she ordered. The aide activated a hologram projector. Images of the Teguk appeared in the air. Kira stared at the ship in surprise. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. The design was strange, with smooth lines and no visible weapons ports. But the energy readings were massive. "How big is this ship?" she asked. "Over 2 kilometers long, Admiral, and the energy output is unusual. Our sensors can't identify the power source." Kira felt excited and worried at the same time. In her 40 years of service to the Empire, she had never encountered anything the Imperial database couldn't identify. Every species they had conquered used similar technology based on the same basic principles. But this ship was different. "Prepare. My fleet," she ordered. "I want 200 ships ready to move within the hour. We're going to investigate this mystery personally." "Yes, Admiral." "What if the alien ship tries to escape?" Kira smiled coldly. "Then we'll remind them why no one enters Imperial space without permission." Back on the Teguk, Captain Minho was gathering his senior officers in the meeting room. The situation was getting worse by the minute. Their scouts had detected more ships moving toward their position. "Options?" Minho asked his team. "We could try to jump back to hyperspace," suggested Daehyun, "but the drive is still damaged. Jiwon thinks it will take at least 6 hours to fix." "We could try to hide," said Hirim. "There's an asteroid field nearby. We might be able to lose them in there." "Or we could try to talk to them," added Seojin. "Maybe they're friendly." Sunwoo shook his head. "The way those ships are moving, they don't look friendly. They look like a military force getting ready for battle." Minho looked out the window at the alien stars. Somewhere out there, his crew's families were waiting for them to come home. But first, they had to survive whatever was coming toward them. "How long until those ships reach us?" he asked. "About 4 hours," Hiram replied. "Then we have 4 hours to figure out how to get home alive," Minho said. "Get to work, everyone. And Jiwon." "Yes, Captain. Fix that hyperspace drive. Our lives depend on it." As his officers left to prepare for the unknown, Minho stood alone on the bridge of his mighty ship. The Teguk was the most powerful vessel humanity had ever built. But in this strange part of space, surrounded by alien forces, it felt very small and very alone. Admiral Kira Velthane stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Imperial Fist. Around her ship, 199 other vessels moved through space in perfect formation. This was the largest fleet she had commanded in years, but she wanted to be ready for anything. "Time to target?" she asked her navigation officer. 2 hours, Admiral. The alien ship hasn't moved since we detected it." Kira studied the images of the strange vessel on her main screen. The more she looked at it, the more puzzled she became. The ship's design was completely foreign. Most alien races built their ships with sharp edges and visible weapons. This one looked almost smooth, like it had been carved from a single piece of metal. "Any response to our identification demands?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral. They're trying to communicate, but they're using an unknown language system. Our computers are working on translation." The communication officer, a young Velkan with purple skin and 4 arms, looked up from his station. "Admiral, we're getting somewhere with the translation. The aliens seem to be asking for peaceful contact. They claim they're lost." Kira laughed. "Lost? In the middle of Imperial space? That's impossible. This sector is thousands of light years from any known alien territory." On the Teguk, Captain Minho was meeting with his language specialist, Seojin Nam. She had been working for hours to understand the alien communications. "What have you learned?" Minho asked. "They call themselves the Velkan Empire," Seojin replied. "From what I can tell, they control a huge area of space. The messages we're receiving are demands for us to surrender and prepare to be boarded." "Surrender?" Minho frowned. We haven't done anything wrong. We're just lost. I don't think they care, Captain. Their messages sound very aggressive. They keep talking about alien invaders and punishment for trespassing. Tactical Officer. Hiram Cho entered the meeting room with a worried expression. Captain, you need to see this. Our long-range sensors have detected something disturbing. She activated a hologram showing the surrounding star systems. Red dots marked Vulcan ships and bases. There were thousands of them. This entire region is under their control, Hiram explained. Every star system for hundreds of light years. And Captain, I'm detecting signs of massive battles in several systems. Old battlefields with debris from thousands of destroyed ships. What kind of debris? Minho asked. Ships from many different species. It looks like this empire has been conquering other races for a very long time. Minho felt his heart sink. They had stumbled into the territory of a military empire that conquered other species, and now the Vulcans thought humanity was another race to be conquered. Any sign of survivors from these other species? He asked. Some. We're detecting slave, colonies, and prison worlds. Captain, I think this empire destroys anyone who resists them. In the engine room, Ji-won Kim was working frantically to repair the hyperspace drive. Sparks flew as she and her team replaced damaged components. The drive had been pushed far beyond its normal limits during their wild jump. How much longer? Asked her assistant, Bora Han. At least 4 more hours, Ji-won replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. Maybe longer. The quantum coils are completely fried. We're basically rebuilding the entire drive system. What if the aliens attack before we're ready? Ji-won paused in her work. Then we fight. The Taeguk has the most advanced weapons humanity has ever built. Let's hope they're good enough. Meanwhile, Communications Officer Jae-hwan Park was monitoring all the alien transmissions. What he heard made him increasingly worried. Captain, he called over the radio. The alien fleet is getting bigger. More ships are arriving every hour. I count over 300 vessels now. On the bridge, Weapons Officer Sun-woo Kang was studying the approaching fleet through his targeting systems. Captain, these ships are armed with energy weapons and missile systems. Their technology looks old, but they have a lot of firepower. How old? Minho asked. Maybe 50 years behind our current technology. But what they lack in quality, they make up for in quantity. Medical. Officer Tae-hyung Shin joined the bridge crew. As the ship's doctor, he wasn't usually involved in military decisions. But he had been thinking about their situation. Captain, I've been reading the translation data. I think we're dealing with a culture that sees conquest as normal. They've probably never met a species they couldn't defeat. What are you suggesting? Minho asked. That they might not understand the concept of equals. To them, every alien race is either a master or a slave. They might not be able to imagine that we could be their equals. 2 hours later, the Vulcan fleet arrived. Admiral Velthane ordered her ships to surround the human vessel. The Taeguk looked tiny compared to the massive formation around it. Open. A communication channel, Velthane ordered. The main screen on the Taeguk flickered to life. Captain Minho found himself looking at an alien woman with purple skin, 4 arms, and cold yellow eyes. Behind her, he could see other aliens working at strange-looking control panels. I am Admiral Kira Velthane of the Vulcan Imperial Navy, the alien said. Her voice was being translated by the ship's computer, but Minho could hear the arrogance in her tone. You have violated Imperial space. Your ship and crew are now property of the Empire. Minho took a deep breath. He had trained for first contact. Situations, but not like this. I am Captain Minho Park of the United Earthship Taeguk. We are not invaders. Our ship suffered a navigation accident, and we ended up in your territory by mistake. We request safe passage back to our own space, Admiral. Velthane's 4 eyes widened in surprise. In 3,000 years of Imperial expansion, no alien had ever made demands of the Empire. They begged for mercy, or they fought. None of them asked for safe passage, as if they had rights. You request? She said slowly. Alien, you are in no position to request anything. You will surrender your ship immediately, or we will take it by force. With respect, Admiral, we represent the human species. We are peaceful, but we are not helpless. We're willing to discuss this situation, but only as equals. The aliens on Velthane's bridge stared at each other in shock. The concept was so foreign to them that they could barely understand it. Every species they had ever encountered had immediately submitted or been destroyed. Equals? Velthane laughed. Alien, your single ship is surrounded by over 300 Imperial vessels. You have no weapons visible on your hull. Your technology appears primitive. What makes you think you could be our equal? On the Teguk, diplomatic specialist Nari Jung whispered to Captain Minho. Captain, I don't think they understand diplomacy. Their entire culture seems built on the idea that might makes right. Minho nodded. He was beginning to understand that they were dealing with a species that had never learned to negotiate because they had never met anyone who could resist them. Admiral Velthane, he said calmly. We don't want to fight, but we also won't be slaves. Perhaps we can find a peaceful solution that benefits everyone. Peaceful solution? Velthane's voice became harsh. The only peace in this galaxy is Imperial peace. You will surrender now, or you will be destroyed. Those are your only choices. I'm afraid we can't accept either of those options, Minho replied. The communication channel went silent. On both ships, the crews prepared for what seemed like an inevitable conflict. Admiral Velthane turned to her weapons officer. Prepare for a demonstration attack. Target their engines. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The Emperor will want to study their technology. Yes, Admiral. 12 destroyers are moving into position. On the Taeguk, Sun Wukong reported the enemy movement. Captain, they're positioning ships for an attack run. It looks like they want to disable us, not destroy us. Minho made a decision that would change galactic history. Sun Wu, prepare our defensive systems. If they attack, we defend ourselves. All systems, Captain? No, just enough to make them think twice. We're not trying to start a war. As the Velkan destroyers moved closer, both sides prepared for humanity's first battle with an alien empire. Neither side knew that this small conflict would send shockwaves across the galaxy and mark the beginning of a new age. Admiral Kira Velthane watched as 12 of her fastest destroyers moved toward the alien ship. The vessels were sleek and deadly, each one capable of destroying a small moon. They had been built to intimidate and overwhelm. In 3,000 years, this tactic had never failed. Destroyers are in position, Admiral, reported her tactical officer. Ready to disable the alien vessel. Good. Target their engine systems only. The Emperor will want to study their technology before we execute the crew. On the lead destroyer, Captain Vex Corvain smiled as he looked at the human ship through his targeting scope. The alien vessel was large, but it showed no signs of defensive systems. Its hull was smooth, with no visible weapon ports or shield generators. This will be easy, he told his crew. One burst from our plasma cannons should shut down their engines completely. The Velkan destroyers had fought thousands of battles. They had destroyed the fleets of entire civilizations. 12 of them together could level a planet's surface. Against one alien ship with no visible weapons, it would be a simple matter. On the Taeguk, Captain Minho stood on his bridge watching the approaching enemy ships. His crew was tense but ready. They had trained for combat, but never against alien forces. Weapons Officer Sun Wu, status report, Minho ordered. All defensive systems are online, Captain. Plasma batteries charged and ready. Point defense systems, active. Shields at maximum power. Remember, we're not trying to start a war. Just enough force to make them reconsider. Tactical Officer Hieram Cho was tracking the enemy ships. 12 vessels approaching, Captain. They're moving into attack. Formation. Estimated time to weapons range, 2 minutes. In the engine room, Jiwon Kim was still working on the hyperspace drive. Captain, I need another hour. The quantum coils are almost repaired, but if we take damage now, we'll be stuck here forever. Understood, Jiwon. Do your best. Medical Officer. Taehyung Shin had set up emergency stations throughout the ship. All medical teams are ready, Captain, but I hope we don't need them. As the Velkan destroyers closed in, systems specialist Yuna-O was analyzing their technology through the ship's sensors. What she found surprised her. Captain, these alien ships are using very old technology. Their power systems are primitive compared to ours. Their weapons are basic plasma cannons, probably 50 years behind our current designs. But they have more ships than we do, Minho pointed out. Yes, sir, but our shields and armor are much stronger than anything they've built. And our weapons, Yuna paused. Captain, our secondary plasma batteries alone are more powerful than their main guns. Minho felt a chill. If Yuna was right, then the human ship was far more advanced than the aliens realized. The Velkans were about to attack something they didn't understand. 1 minute to weapons range, Hirim announced. On Admiral Velthane's flagship, the communication officer was monitoring human transmissions. Admiral, the aliens are talking to each other. Our computers are translating. What are they saying? They seem calm, Admiral. Most species panic when they see our destroyers. These aliens sound like they're just discussing technical details. Velthane frowned. Every species reacted the same way to Imperial force, with fear. The humans' lack of panic was disturbing. 30 seconds to weapons range, reported her tactical officer. The 12 Velkan destroyers moved into perfect attack formation. Their plasma cannons powered up, creating bright green energy along their hulls. Each ship was ready to fire at the alien vessel's engines. On the Taeguk, Weapons Officer Sunwoo was watching the enemy ships through his targeting system. Captain, they're charging weapons. This is really happening. Defensive positions, everyone, Minho ordered. Let's show them what human engineering can do. The Velkan destroyers opened fire. 12 green plasma beams lanced out toward the Taeguk. The energy was enough to destroy a city, all focused on the human ship's engine section. The plasma struck the Taeguk's shields and simply bounced off. The human ship's defensive systems absorbed the energy without even flickering. It was like throwing stones at a mountain. On the lead Velkan destroyer, Captain Corvain stared at his instruments in confusion. Direct hit, but the alien ship shows no damage. How is that possible? Admiral Velthane was equally shocked. Fire again! Full power! The destroyers fired a second volley, then a third. Each time, the human ship's shields absorbed the energy, without any sign of strain. The Taeguk just sat there, completely undamaged. Admiral, the tactical officer said nervously, our weapons aren't even scratching their defenses. What are we dealing with? For the first time in her long career, Admiral Velthane felt fear. On the Taeguk, Captain Minho was relieved that his ship's defenses were holding. But he knew he had to respond. The aliens had attacked first. Now he had to show them that humanity wasn't helpless. Sunwoo, prepare 1 secondary plasma battery. Target the ship that fired first. Just 1 battery, Captain? We have 12 main batteries and 6 secondary systems. 1 will be enough. We're making a point, not starting a genocide. Sunwoo targeted the lead Velkan destroyer with one of the ship's smallest weapons. Even the secondary plasma batteries on the Taeguk were designed to punch through the heaviest armor. Against the primitive alien technology, it would be devastating. Firing, Sunwoo announced. A single blue beam of energy shot out from the Taeguk. It was beautiful and terrible, like captured lightning. The beam struck the lead Velkan destroyer and went straight through it. The alien ship simply vanished. One moment it was there, firing its weapons at the human vessel. The next moment, there was nothing but expanding gas and debris. The silence that followed was deafening. Captain Corvain and his crew of 200 Velkans were dead before they even knew what hit them. The human weapon had vaporized their ship so completely that there wasn't enough left to identify. On the remaining 11 destroyers, the crews stared in shock at the empty space where their lead ship had been. In 3,000 years of Imperial history, no alien weapon had ever destroyed a Velkan ship so quickly and completely. Impossible, whispered one of the gunners. Nothing can destroy a destroyer with 1 shot. Admiral Velthane watched the destruction through her flagship's cameras. Her 4 hands shook as she tried to understand what she had just seen. The alien ship had used a single weapon to completely destroy one of her best destroyers. Admiral, her communication officer said quietly, the alien captain is trying to contact us. The main screen flickered to life. Captain Minho appeared, looking calm, but serious. Admiral Velthane, I want to be very clear about something. We did not come here to fight. We are lost travelers who want to go home. But we will defend ourselves, if attacked. Velthane stared at the human. How did you destroy my ship so easily? That was one of our smallest weapons, Admiral. We have much more powerful systems if we need them. But we prefer to talk instead of fight. Your smallest weapon? Velthane's voice was barely a whisper. Yes, we're still willing to discuss this peacefully. We don't want to hurt anyone else. The 11 surviving destroyer captains were all ready. pulling back from the human ship. Their crews were terrified. They had gone from confident attackers to frightened survivors in seconds. "Admiral," one of the destroyer captains radioed, "request permission to retreat. Our weapons are useless against that thing." Velthane didn't answer. She was too busy trying to understand what her fleet had encountered. This single alien ship had technology far beyond anything in the Imperial database. It could defend against their strongest attacks and destroy their ships with ease. Science Officer Bora Han, who had been monitoring the battle from her station on the Taeguk, made a discovery that shocked her. "Captain, I've been analyzing the debris from the destroyed ship. Their technology is incredibly primitive. They're using fusion power systems that we stopped using 50 years ago. Their armor is just steel alloys. Their weapons are basic plasma systems." "Then how have they conquered so many species?" Minho asked. "Numbers, Captain. And the fact that most species in this part of the galaxy seem to have similar technology levels. Until now, they've never met anyone more advanced than they are." Minho realized the full implications. Humanity had accidentally stumbled into a region of space where they were the most technologically advanced species. The Velkan Empire had conquered thousands of worlds, but only because their victims had primitive technology. "Admiral," Minho said to the Velkan commander, "I think we need to have a longer conversation. There are things we both need to understand." But Admiral Velthane was already sending emergency messages to the Imperial capital. The Empire had encountered something completely new, an alien species that was more advanced than they were. The shockwaves were about to begin. The news spread across the Velkan Empire like wildfire. For the first time in 3,000 years, an Imperial fleet had been defeated. Not just defeated, humiliated. A single alien ship had destroyed one of their destroyers and made the rest flee like frightened children. On the slave world of Kepler 442b, a Zephyrian worker named Thane stopped his mining work when he heard the whispered news. The blue-skinned alien looked around carefully to make sure no Velkan guards were watching, then shared the incredible story with his fellow prisoners. "They say one alien ship destroyed a whole Velkan destroyer," he whispered. "One shot and it was gone." "Impossible," replied Kira, a female Zephyrian who had been enslaved for 20 years. "Nothing can stand against the Empire." "That's what I thought too. But the story is coming from everywhere. Even the Velkan guards look scared." In the slave barracks that night, the Zephyrians and dozens of other enslaved species talked quietly about the impossible news. For generations, they had been told that the Velkan Empire was all-powerful. Their ancestors had tried to fight and been crushed. Resistance was hopeless. But now, someone had actually hurt the Empire. On the Imperial capital world of Valthros, Emperor Thane Velamorthus sat in his throne room reading Admiral Velthane's report. The massive Velkan ruler had 4 arms, purple skin, and cold yellow eyes that had never shown mercy to anyone. "This is impossible," he said to his advisors. "One alien ship cannot defeat Imperial forces." General Corax Veldane, the Empire's top military commander, was studying the battle recordings. "Your Majesty, I've watched the footage a dozen times. The alien weapon completely vaporized the destroyer. Our best scientists can't explain how they did it." "And their defenses?" the Emperor asked. "Our plasma cannons didn't even scratch them. It's like they have shields we've never seen before." "Intelligence." Minister Lyra Velzine stepped forward. She was older than the others, with scars from many battles. "Your Majesty, I believe we're dealing with something unprecedented. This species, these humans, have technology far beyond ours." "Impossible!" Emperor Velamorthus slammed his 4 fists on his throne. "The Empire has conquered 3,000 species. We know every type of technology in the galaxy." "Apparently not, Your Majesty," Lyra said quietly. The Emperor's rage was terrible to see. For 3 millennia, the Velkan Empire had been the strongest force in their part of the galaxy. They had never met a species they couldn't conquer. Every alien race had eventually bowed before Imperial might. "Mobilize the Second Fleet," the Emperor ordered. 1,000 ships. I want this alien vessel captured and studied, and I want their homeworld found and destroyed. But even as he gave these orders, Emperor Velamorthus felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. On the Taeguk, Captain Minho was meeting with his senior officers. They had been monitoring alien communications for hours, and what they heard was disturbing. "The entire Empire is talking about us," reported Communications Officer Jae-Hwan Park. "Their networks are buzzing with news of the battle." "What kind of reaction are we seeing?" Minho asked. "Mixed, Captain. The Velkan military is angry and scared. But the enslaved species—" Jae-Hwan paused. "They're excited. For the first time in their lives, they're hearing that the Empire can be hurt." Diplomatic specialist Nari Jung had been analyzing the cultural data they were gathering. "Captain, I'm starting to understand this empire better. They've built their entire civilization on the idea that they're superior to everyone else. The fact that we defeated them challenges everything they believe." "And the slave species? They've been oppressed for generations. Many of them have never seen their homeworlds. They've been taught that resistance is impossible. But now they know it's not," Minho finished. Medical Officer Tai-Hyung Shin looked troubled. "Captain, are we responsible for what happens next? If these enslaved species rebel because of us, millions could die." It was a question that haunted Minho. The Taiguk had come here by accident, but their actions were already changing this part of the galaxy. In the engine room, Ji-Won Kim was making good progress on the hyperspace drive. "2 more hours, Captain," she reported, "but I'm detecting massive fleet movements all around us. They're bringing in reinforcements." Systems Specialist Yuna Oh was monitoring the approaching ships. "Captain, I count over 800 vessels heading our way. This is going to be the largest fleet in Imperial history." "Can we fight them?" Minho asked. "We could probably win," Sun Woo said from his weapon station. "Our technology is far superior." "But Captain, that many ships means millions of alien crew members. Even if they're our enemies, do we really want to kill that many people?" On Vielthros, Fleet Admiral Vex Corvain was preparing the largest military operation in Imperial history. Unlike Admiral Velthane, Corvain was older and more experienced. He had conquered dozens of star systems and destroyed entire civilizations. "This alien ship may be advanced," he told his staff, "but it's still just one vessel. No matter how powerful their weapons, they can't fight 1,000 ships at once." His aide, Commander Trix Velnor, looked at the tactical projections. "Sir, what if their technology is so advanced that numbers don't matter?" "Impossible. Every ship has limits. Every shield can be overwhelmed. We'll surround them and attack from all directions simultaneously. Even their superior weapons can't target 1,000 ships at once." But privately, Corvain was worried. The battle recordings showed technology unlike anything he had ever seen. The human ship's weapons and defenses seemed to operate on principles the Empire didn't understand. On the prison moon of Tartarus 7, Zarakat Ani sat in her cell thinking about the news. The orange-skinned Helion had been a resistance fighter before her capture 5 years ago. Her people had tried to fight the Empire and been crushed like all the others. But now, for the first time in years, she felt hope. "Guard!" she called to the Velkan soldier outside her cell. "I want to hear more about this human ship." "Shut up, alien scum," the guard replied. But Zara could hear the fear in his voice. All across the Empire, similar scenes were playing out. On factory worlds, enslaved. Workers whispered about the impossible victory. On prison planets, political prisoners shared the news in secret. On conquered homeworlds, the descendants of free peoples began to remember what freedom meant. The Velkan Empire had built its power on fear and hopelessness. For 3,000 years, they had convinced every species that resistance was impossible. But the Taiguk's victory had shattered that illusion. On the ship itself, Captain Minho was struggling with the implications of their situation. Language specialist Seojin Nam had been translating more alien communications, and the picture was getting clearer. "Captain, I've identified over 50 different alien languages in the Imperial communications networks. This empire has conquered dozens of species. Some of them have been enslaved for over 1,000 years. Any signs of active resistance movements?" "Some. But they've been small and ineffective. Until now." Navigation Officer Daehyun Lee looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual activity in several star systems. Ships moving in. Patterns that don't match normal Imperial operations." "Rebellion?" Minho asked. "Maybe. Or the Empire is repositioning forces to hunt down rebel groups that are becoming more active." Science Officer Bora Han had been studying the Imperial technology they had captured data on. "Captain, I think I understand why this empire has been so successful. They're not just militarily superior to their victims. They're economically dominant too. They control all the advanced technology. The enslaved species are kept at primitive tech levels on purpose. A deliberate strategy to prevent uprising, Tactical Officer Hiram noted. Exactly. But our presence here changes everything. We've proven that the Empire can be defeated, and if our technology fell into the hands of the resistance movements— Minho didn't finish the thought, but everyone understood. The human ship's accidental arrival wasn't just a diplomatic incident. It was the beginning of a galactic revolution. Outside the ship, space was filling with Vulcan vessels. The largest fleet in Imperial history was gathering to face one human battleship. But both sides were beginning to realize that this was about more than just one battle. The Empire's 3,000-year reign of terror was being challenged for the first time. And across thousands of worlds, billions of enslaved beings were beginning to believe that freedom might be possible after all. Fleet Admiral Vex Corvain stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Imperial Wrath. Around him, the largest armada in Vulcan history was taking position. 1,000 ships formed a perfect sphere around the location where the human vessel waited. "Final count, Admiral," reported his tactical officer. 1,000 ships in position. Every vessel in the Second Fleet is here. Corvain nodded grimly. He was taking no chances with this alien threat. The sphere formation meant the human ship could not escape in any direction. If they tried to run, they would face hundreds of ships, no matter which way they turned. "Any movement from the alien vessel?" he asked. "No, sir. They're maintaining position in the same spot. Their communications suggest they're still repairing something." "Good. The longer they wait, the more ships we can bring to bear." Corvain studied the tactical display. "Signal all ships. When we attack, it will be simultaneous from all directions. I want that alien vessel overwhelmed completely." But what Corvain didn't know was that his massive fleet had become the center of attention for the entire galaxy. On worlds throughout the Empire, both Vulcan and alien, people were watching and waiting to see what would happen. On the slave world of New Kepler, the Zephyrian resistance leader Marcus Thale received a secret message from other rebel groups. The message was short but electrifying. The humans are still alive. The Empire has not beaten them. Marcus had been fighting the Empire for 20 years. His people had tried everything: sabotage, assassination, armed rebellion. Nothing had worked. The Empire was too strong, too well organized. But now, for the first time, there was hope. "Brothers," he told his fellow resistance fighters, "the time may finally be coming. If these humans can really stand against the Empire, then so can we." On the Taiguk, Captain Minho was facing the hardest decision of his life. Engineer Jiwon Kim had finished repairing the hyperspace drive. They could escape now. But doing so would abandon billions of enslaved beings who saw humanity as their only hope for freedom. "Status report," Minho ordered his senior staff. "Hyperspace. Drive is fully operational," Jiwon reported. "We can jump out of here whenever you give the order." "Enemy fleet status?" Tactical Officer Hiram Cho pulled up the sensor readings. 1,000 ships, Captain. They've formed a complete sphere around us. If we try to escape, we'll have to fight through hundreds of them. Can we do it? Weapons Officer Sun Woo Kang studied his combat systems. "Probably, Captain. Our weapons and shields are far superior. But that many ships, we'd have to kill millions of aliens to get through." Medical Officer Tae-hyung Shin spoke up. "Captain, I've been monitoring the communications from the enslaved worlds. They're not just watching us. They're counting on us. Some resistance groups are already becoming more active because they think we're going to liberate them." "That's not our mission," Minho said quietly. "No, sir. But it might be our responsibility." Communications Officer Jaewon Park had been listening to transmissions from across the Empire. "Captain, you need to hear this. I'm picking up reports of uprising attempts on at least 12 worlds. The enslaved species are rebelling because they think we're here to help them." Minho felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. The Taiguk had come here by accident, but their presence was already changing the galaxy. "And if we leave?" he asked. "The rebellions will be crushed," diplomatic specialist Nari Jung said sadly. "The Empire will make examples of the rebels. Millions will die as punishment for daring to hope." Navigator Daehyun Lee looked up from his station. Captain, I'm detecting something else. The Empire isn't just moving ships to attack us. They're repositioning forces throughout their territory. They're preparing for major internal conflicts. They're scared, systems specialist Yuna O observed. For the first time in their history, the Empire is afraid that their slaves might actually be able to fight back. On Vieltros, Emperor Thane Velmorthus was dealing with reports of unrest throughout his domain. Intelligence Minister Lyra Velsine brought him the latest updates. Uprising attempts on 15 worlds, Your Majesty. Small groups mostly, but more organized than we've seen in decades. Crush them, the Emperor ordered. We are, Your Majesty. But the rebels are fighting harder than usual. They seem to believe that help is coming. Help from one alien ship? Impossible. Perhaps, Your Majesty. But belief can be a powerful weapon. The slaves have hope now, and hope makes people dangerous. The Emperor's 4 hands clenched into fists. Then we'll take away their hope. When we destroy this human ship, we'll broadcast the footage to every world in the Empire. We'll show them what happens to those who challenge Imperial power. But privately, even the Emperor was beginning to doubt. The human ship had already survived longer than any enemy in Imperial history. What if it couldn't be destroyed? In the Deep Space Monitoring Station orbiting the gas giant Xerion 7, technician Kex Vorthane was tracking the massive fleet movements. As Admiral Velthane's nephew, he had access to classified Imperial communications. What he read in the secret reports terrified him. The human ship wasn't just more advanced than Imperial technology, it was more advanced than anything in their databases. The scientists studying the battle recordings had no idea how the human weapons worked. They operated on principles that violated everything the Empire knew about physics. Kex made a decision that would have cost him his life if discovered. He sent an encrypted message to resistance contacts on 3 different worlds. The Empire doesn't understand the human technology. They're fighting something beyond their comprehension. On the Taguk, Science Officer Bora Han was monitoring the massive alien fleet through their sensors. What she discovered was disturbing. Captain, I've been analyzing the Empire's ship formations. They're not just here to capture us. Some of those vessels are planet killers. Planet killers? Minho asked. Weapons designed to destroy entire worlds. The Empire has brought them here as a last resort. If they can't capture our technology, they'll destroy everything to keep it from falling into rebel hands. Minho finished. The implications were staggering. The Empire was so afraid of human technology reaching the resistance movements that they were prepared to destroy inhabited worlds to prevent it. How many planets are in range of those weapons? Minho asked. 3 inhabited worlds, Captain. 2 are slave colonies with about 50 million people each. The 3rd is a prison planet with about 10 million political prisoners. Over 100 million innocent lives were now at stake. If the battle went badly, the Empire might kill them all just to make a point. Language Specialist. Seojin Nam had been monitoring civilian communications from those threatened worlds. Captain, the people down there know what's happening. They can see the fleets gathering above them. They know they might die, but they're not asking us to leave. What are they saying? That even if they die, at least someone finally stood up to the Empire. They're thanking us for giving them hope, even if it's only for a short time. Captain Minho looked around at his senior officers. These were good people who had signed up to protect human colonies, not to fight a galactic war. But circumstances had forced them into a position where they might be the only thing standing between freedom and tyranny for billions of beings. Options? He asked. We could run, suggested Daehyun. Jump to hyperspace and escape. Warn Earth about the Empire, and let them prepare for the eventual invasion. We could fight, said Sunwoo. Our technology is superior. We might be able to defeat their entire fleet. Or we could try to negotiate, offered Nari. Perhaps we can find a diplomatic solution. The Empire doesn't negotiate, Hirim pointed. Out. They conquer, or they destroy. Those are their only options. Minho walked to the main view screen and looked out at the alien stars. Somewhere out there, Earth waited for them to come home. His family, his friends, his whole world had no idea that their fate might be decided here, thousands of light years away. But here, in this alien star system, billions of enslaved beings were looking to one human ship as their only hope for freedom. The weight of that responsibility was almost unbearable. "Admiral Corvain is trying to contact us," Jawan announced. "Put him through." The main screen showed the alien fleet commander. Unlike Admiral Velthane, Corvain looked older and more experienced. His yellow eyes were cold and calculating. "Human captain," Corvain said, "I am Fleet Admiral Vex Corvain. You are completely surrounded. Your ship, no matter how advanced, cannot fight 1,000 vessels simultaneously. Surrender now and your death will be quick." "And if we don't surrender?" Minho asked. "Then you will die slowly, and we will hunt down your homeworld and destroy every human in the galaxy." Minho looked at his crew. They had trained together, fought together, and now they would face this ultimate test together. "Admiral Corvain," Minho said calmly, "I think you're about to learn something that the Empire has forgotten in its 3,000 years of conquest." "And what is that?" "That sometimes it's better to die fighting for freedom than to live as a slave." The communication channel closed. Both fleets prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Captain Minho Park stood on the bridge of the Teguk and made a decision that would echo across the galaxy for generations. He turned to Communications Officer Jawan Park and gave an order that no one expected. "Jawan, open a channel to every communication frequency in the Empire. I want every ship, every world, every being in Velkan space to hear what I'm about to say." "Captain?" Jawan looked confused. "That will mean breaking through their military encryption. They'll know exactly where the signal is coming from." "Good. I want them to know." Within moments, Jawan had overridden the Imperial communication networks. Every Velkan ship, every slave colony, every prison world suddenly received the same signal. For the first time in 3,000 years, someone was speaking to the entire Empire without Imperial permission. Captain Minho's voice reached billions of beings across hundreds of star systems. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began. "My name is Captain Minho Park of the United Earth ship Teguk. I represent the human species. We come from a world called Earth, far beyond your borders." On 1,000 ships, Velkan crews stared at their communication screens in shock. On countless worlds, enslaved beings stopped their work to listen. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Velamorthus screamed at his technicians to cut the signal. But human technology had completely overridden their systems. "We did not come here to conquer," Minho continued. "We are explorers and peacekeepers. But we have seen the truth of this empire. We have seen worlds full of slaves, beings who have forgotten what freedom means." On the slave world of New Kepler, Zephyrian resistance leader Marcus Thale listened with tears in his blue eyes. Around him, thousands of his people had stopped, working to hear the impossible words. "The Velkan Empire has told you that resistance is hopeless," Minho said. "They have convinced you that they are all-powerful, that no one can stand against them. But I am here to tell you that they have lied." Fleet Admiral Corvain was desperately trying to jam the human transmission. "Cut that signal," he screamed. "At his communication officers. We can't, sir. Their technology is completely overriding our systems." "To the enslaved peoples of this galaxy," Minho's voice continued, "I want you to know that you are not alone. Freedom is not just a dream. It is your right. And today, we prove that the Empire can be defeated." On the prison moon of Tartarus 7, former resistance fighter Zara Kedani pressed her orange hands against the cold wall of her cell. After 5 years of captivity, she was hearing words she never thought she would hear again. "We cannot free you all," Minho admitted. "We are just one ship, but we can show you that the Empire is not invincible. We can prove that their power has limits." Emperor Thane Velamorthus was in a rage that shook the walls of his palace. "Destroy them! Destroy them now! I don't care about capturing their technology anymore. Kill them all!" The order went out to Fleet Admiral Corvain. Attack immediately with everything they had. But Captain Minho wasn't finished. "Admiral Corvain, I know you're listening. You have 1,000 ships surrounding us. You believe that your numbers give you victory, but you're about to learn something that your empire has forgotten." Corvain felt a chill run down his spine. "Sometimes," Minho said, One person standing up for what's right is worth more than 1,000 bullies. The attack began. All around the Taeguk, 1,000 Imperial ships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the human vessel lit up like a star as thousands of plasma cannons unleashed their fury. It was the most concentrated firepower in galactic history, enough energy to crack a moon in half. The plasma beams struck the Taeguk's shields and simply disappeared. The human ship's defensive systems absorbed the massive attack without even flickering. It was like throwing buckets of water at the sun. Impossible! Corvain stared at his instruments. No shield can absorb that much energy. On his weapons console, Sun Wukang reported to Captain Minho. Shields holding at 98%, Captain. Their weapons can't penetrate our defenses. Return. Fire, Minho ordered. Show them what human engineering can really do. For the first time since entering Imperial space, the Taeguk revealed its true power. All 12 main plasma batteries came online, along with the 6 secondary systems. The human battleship lit up like a constellation as its weapons charged. The first volley was devastating. 12 beams of blue energy lanced out from the Taeguk, each one striking a different Imperial ship. The human weapons didn't just destroy their targets, they vaporized them completely. 12 massive Velkan warships simply ceased to exist, leaving only expanding clouds of gas. But the Taeguk wasn't finished. The secondary batteries opened fire, targeting the planet-killer weapons that threatened the civilian worlds. 6 more. Imperial ships vanished in brilliant flashes of light. In 18 seconds, the human ship had destroyed 18 enemy vessels, and it was just getting started. Systems specialist Yuna O was coordinating the ship's defensive systems with deadly efficiency. Captain, our point defense systems are online. Their missiles can't reach us. Hundreds of Velkan missiles were intercepted and destroyed before they could reach the Taeguk. The human ship's defensive systems were so advanced that the Imperial weapons might as well have been stones thrown by children. Weapons status? Minho asked. All systems operating at optimal levels, Sun Wu replied. We can maintain this rate of fire indefinitely. The Taeguk continued its deadly dance through space. Its main guns fired again and again, each shot destroying another Imperial ship. The human vessel moved with impossible grace, its advanced engines making it faster and more maneuverable than anything the Empire had ever built. Fleet Admiral Corvain watched in horror as his mighty armada was systematically destroyed. How many ships have we lost? 167, sir, and the alien ship shows no signs of damage. On worlds throughout the Empire, billions of beings watch the impossible battle through hijacked communication channels. They saw one human ship fighting the largest fleet in Imperial history and winning. On New Kepler, Marcus Thale raised his fist to the sky. Brothers, do you see? The Empire can be beaten. All across the slave world, Zephyrians threw down their tools and began to march toward the Velkan garrison. For the first time in generations, they were not afraid. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. The sight of Imperial ships being destroyed by human weapons had shattered the myth of Velkan invincibility. Resistance movements that had been hiding for decades suddenly emerged into the open. On the Taeguk, engineer Jiwon Kim was monitoring the ship's power systems. Captain, we're operating at 60% capacity. We could increase firepower if needed. 60%? Minho was amazed. We're destroying their fleet with less than full power? Yes, sir. Human technology is apparently much more advanced than anything in this part of the galaxy. As the battle continued, something unexpected happened. Some of the Imperial ships began to retreat. For the first time in 3,000 years, Velkan vessels were fleeing from battle. Admiral! One of Corvain's captains radioed. My ship is damaged. Request permission to withdraw. Denied. Fight until destruction. But more and more Imperial ships were breaking formation and trying to escape. The sight of their comrades being vaporized had broken their will to fight. Captain Minho made another decision that shocked everyone. Cease fire, he ordered. Captain? Sunwoo looked confused. We're winning. We could destroy their entire fleet. That's exactly why we're stopping, Minho replied. He opened a channel to the surviving Imperial ships. Fleet Admiral Corvain, this is Captain Park. I'm ordering my ship to stop firing. You've lost 200 ships, but I'm giving you a chance to save the rest of your people. On his flagship, Corvain stared at the human captain's image. Why? You could destroy us all. Because we're not conquerors, Minho replied. We're protectors. Your people don't have to die today, but this ends now. The moral impact of Minho's mercy was even greater than the military victory. Across the Empire, people who had been watching the battle saw something they had never seen before. A powerful force showing restraint. Emperor Thane Velomorthus, watching from his palace, felt his world crumble around him. The Empire's entire philosophy was based on the belief that might made right. But the humans had shown that true strength came from knowing when not to use your power. Admiral Corvain, Minho continued, I want you to deliver a message to your emperor. Tell him that humanity exists. Tell him that we are not his enemies, but we will not tolerate the oppression of innocent beings. The age of unchallenged Imperial dominance is over. Fleet Admiral Corvain looked around at what remained of his once mighty fleet. Less than half his ships were still intact, and many of those were damaged. The human vessel floated before them, completely undamaged despite fighting 1,000 ships. What are your demands? Corvain asked. We don't make demands, Minho replied. We make promises. Promise that the enslaved beings of this galaxy will one day be free. Promise that your empire will learn that cooperation is stronger than conquest. With that, the Tayaguk began to move away from the Imperial fleet. The hyperspace drive was fully operational now. It was time to go home. Wait, Corvain called out. Where are you going? To prepare our people for the future, Minho replied. Because, Admiral, whether your empire likes it or not, the galaxy has changed today. And there's no